I said, nice to be with both of you. So thank you. And I'm not sure, after the questions that have already been asked, I'm not even sure I have a specific question. We'll see where it goes. One piece, and I feel like I keep hearing this from both of you, is a lot of refinement and teasing apart different aspects of things. And I think for me, sometimes in my body and my experience, things can get all glommed together.
Yeah.
So one piece is, can sound so simple to stay with the physical sensation. And sometimes for me, even as I sit here now, there's a charge in my body. And sometimes when there's a certain charge, I have a sense of not only do I identify that as me, but it also feels like it's a threat and it's a problem. So it's one thing, just saying that. I'm also going to see how my body reacts as I tell you that, and we're kind of all with that. But the question, the thing I'm really wondering about has to do with parenting and time and kind of time collapse. And I'll tell you a little bit and we can see what happens. So I have a kid that just turned 18 and he's getting ready to make some changes. It's shifting what my role and what's changing. And I co-parent with someone who's outside my home. And so the style with which we do this is very different. And so I can feel myself having reactivity about how to do this in a coordinated way, how to support this human, and also how to support myself while I am both in this role of parenting, but also I don't even have language. I see some nodding happening. So I'm like, yeah, the whatever path this person is on. And I don't know if you have thoughts about how to, if there's a way to hold all of that. I know that's not really very specific. One of the pieces I noticed is do you have a question before I keep going?
No, go on.
Okay. So noticing I got a document about kind of how what should happen parenting wise. And I have my own reactivity and thoughts about parenting and how I was parented, and also trying to take into consideration how this human should be parented. And I feel in my body a lot of charge around that. And in some ways, I almost never ask a question because I feel like the question will be like, stay with what you feel, tease it apart, inquire into it, see what's there.
What I'm reacting to, and what I would suggest you to look into, is that should be, how the child should be parented. It indicates that how you raise a child the right way, and the other parent, the co-parent, does not know, or does not agree with the right way that you know. So how do we solve that one? To me, that sounds like what you're asking.
Yeah, I don't know that I
Yeah.
definitely I'm identified with this sense of going like, oh, I know who this kid is and I know what's right for him.
Yes.
I have very strong ideas, and kind of, we've talked about identification, like over identification, like me, him, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that is there.
Yeah. And that is interesting to look into, because I understand that there's there's so many things, because you are also in a very transformative part of your life at the moment, especially if he's leaving home for college or university or whatever. Then all of a sudden you have, to redefine your role as a mom in a new way. Where you're still a mom, but you're just not, important anymore. And that redefining you is, for a lot of parents, really, really difficult. Really difficult, because our children has been the biggest part of our life and has shaped us into the people that we are today.
Mm.
And redefining that is difficult because we don't really want to. We had them for a reason. We love them and we would like to keep them at home until they're 75. But um yeah, it is a difficult one. But that is what the one that I would recommend you to look into. Um a bit like what we talked with Don about, what feeling into what is the fear underneath it. What is the fear of not being a mom anymore, but being less?
Mm. Mm.
Uh, that is one part of it. The other part is the relationship with the co-parent,
Mhm.
looking into your beliefs of how do you know that you know how to be a parent, the best parent. I mean, I've said this
Mhm.
multiple times that we are going to fuck it up with our children, period.
Mhm.
They are going to end in therapy, period. And they are going to blame us for lots and lots and lots of things. It's just how it is to be a parent. And it's one of the signs of you being a good parent that you go like, you need therapy, let me pay.
Mhm.
That's one of the best things we can do for our children is pay for therapy. Um you do
Mhm.
not know what the right thing is to do um for your son
And
as
I
a parent.
guess I don't to absolutely, and part of me really knows that. I feel like I don't know. I don't know what he, but I feel like I am identified as this idea of like you stay connected, you talk about it, you admit when you make a mistake, you say, I'll follow your lead. I have all sorts of ideas in that regard.
Yeah.
But in terms of what he should do or what should happen or how it will go, there's a lot of me that's like, I don't know.
Mm.
And part of it is like trying to be pinned down to this will happen by this date and he will do this and this will happen and da da da. And I'm like, I don't know if that's gonna
No,
happen.
no, you can't do any of that. I'm still on about the co-parenting and the should word. That there's something in there which is really making your life really, really difficult.
Yeah, and
And so we're talking about other stuff instead of that I keep bringing up. And I also
uh,
respect you, you know, talking about other stuff instead of that because it can be a very, very sore spot
and
having
even
that.
the part about like who will I be with him
No, no, you
launching?
can't. No, you said that you received a document that was about how you should be a parent or how the other co-parent should be a co-parent.
Or
Um,
more like could we all agree to this being the specifics that we say? So when so say it again in a way of like if I sit with the idea about how I should be.
no, if you have any expectation to the co-parent to be in a certain way,
Mhm.
there's better stuff for you to look into.
Yep.
It's the most direct I can say it.
Yep.
And that is not the sitting down and being with it and all of that. You can't do that
Mhm.
with fifth feather stuff because fifth
Mhm.
feather stuff is so potent that you want to rip somebody's head off. So
Mhm.
it's like it's very
Mhm.
difficult to just sit down and be okay with that. It's not happening with fifth feather stuff. And the
Mhm.
moment you say should, that is a verbal indicator of the fifth feather.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
reason why I keep bringing it up is that that is the most icky and disgusting part of us whenever we
Mhm.
become aware of fifth feather because we're petty and we
Mhm.
are judgmental and we do not want to be like that. But when we use a word should, we are.
Mhm. Yep.
And that needs to be looked at.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question about that because I
Mhm.
agree, and that's right where it is. And I was pacing this morning and having all this judgment and feeling like, and being like, okay, I'm just going to pace and I'm going to feel this. When I look into it, is it looking into kind of like who is this person even having these ideas about
You're
how
trying to
someone should?
you're trying to be way too nice and civilized about this. Don't
Okay.
try to be that. If you're petty, be petty. It's the only way that we can get to the root of it. It's about being completely honest about what is going on.
But
So
how do I be petty and still show up to a meeting where I'm like, because I'm feeling
I
all
know,
petty and I want to
I
be like,
know,
"Oh, oh, oh," and at the
I
same
know, I know.
time,
No. What you do is you come to us and you are your full throttle petty, and then
yeah,
we help you out with it. So you will be calm at the meeting, but you need to acknowledge that you are petty. Otherwise,
yeah,
it will be in the pressure cooker at the meeting. So bring in
yeah.
it here, whatever pettiness you have, whatever fifth feather issue you have, and you do not want to be like that. This is the place to bring it.
Yeah, well, I want to say because I want to tell her she's fucked up and
Yeah.
she's fucking up. I want to tell her
Yes.
yeah, at the end, she's like, oh, stay in touch with your parents. I'm like, this is a way to fucking have him be drug addicted and never want to fucking talk to us again.
Yeah.
So yes, I know I have all this and I'm having all this and I'm like, I'm trying to like, write it all down and I don't even mind telling all you. I don't give a fuck. It's fucking there. It's
Yes.
totally there. I'm aware it's there. And part
Yeah.
of me is like, okay, it's there. I feel all this. And it's not that I even necessarily want it to go away. I'm just clear that I'm like, this has to be over here but maybe you're like, you still have more fucking shit to work through before you even show up to the meeting. Is
You
that
can.
part of it?
Yeah, yep. The problem with spirituality and non-duality and knowing that there is no I and all of that, it is that we are bypassing a lot of the very, very fundamental feelings that we experience. When you get that angry about a partner, when you
Mhm.
get that aggravated, it's not about her. Know that it's not about her. It's not about her. It's about you. There's an underlying belief, and she's just pushing the buttons. She's your
Yes,
ex. She knows how to
totally.
fucking push the buttons, you know?
Well, I don't even know that it's her. I don't even know that she's trying to push my button. She has her own thing. But absolutely. It's like, can I be how I am? Am I responsible? Will he be a responsible person?
Yes.
How does anybody know? Am I doing it right? What was it like when I was raised, right? What my parents did
Exactly.
to me. It's all a fucking cascading. It's all
Yes.
there.
Yes. And all of that needs to come to the surface. Because if you put anything into a pressure cooker, it will explode when it's not convenient. And
Right. So I'm
and that is why we put so much emphasis into working with the fifth feather. Because
Mhm.
all of that ickiness, all of that disgusted, where it's just like you are the most, yeah, judgmental, petty Karen person on the planet. You need to
Mhm.
bring that. You really need to look at it. You not look at it, but allow yourself to be that, and then do increase. I can recommend the way that Todd and Kevin and Christiane is doing it because it's really really good. It's where you have non-reactivity here on one side, you have over-reactivity here on the other side, and
Mhm.
then you place yourself right in the middle, right in the gap, and
Mhm.
look at that overreactivity and start to dissolve it. Todd, he's amazing at it. Do
Mm.
you want to do that one now?
Well, I was kind of curious. I mean, it can take a while, but what I was curious about is what is an actual example of something which, well, first of all, how is the reactivity showing up when you are having these reactive episodes? And then also, like a specific of what the specific trigger is that created. I know we've just had
In the
this.
document, what was
Yeah,
it exactly that
exactly.
pissed
Yeah.
you off? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I can tell you all. There's a lot. The thing that's the hardest is the charge in my body. So I feel the reactivity as a charge, and it can
Yes.
feel like this internal volcano, like I was a
Yes.
mother,
Yes.
what
Yes.
the fuck. So
Yeah.
that is what is
Yes.
most challenging and building up my capacity to stay with that and
Mhm.
still, be talking to you and do whatever it is. The the fact that it's like an HR agreement and it's like a not a human, but like a, you know, and and I also know from my own upbringing this idea of who does it fit the person, who the person is versus how you want the person to be. And I have my own, herd around ideas about how I was molded to be something I wasn't because that's what, and really feeling like, oh, fuck, I don't want to fucking do that to another human on the planet. So I'm feeling into, does that describe it?
Yeah, I would say though, a lot of this does come back to you and your upbringing
Mm-hmm.
that feels, like you just said, you don't you experience this thing and you don't want him to experience the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this projected idea, first of all, that he will experience the same thing even under the same circumstances. You
Mhm.
know, there's an idea that
Mhm.
you that he is going to have an identical experience and reaction to a even somewhat similar sort of situation,
Well,
which
let me clarify that. I am clear. That's not my worry more is less. He's fine. He's gonna be fine. And I can see the places where I've confused because it's not really, I can see he has heard about it, but it's not like me. It's not. But I guess I'm this piece about somehow I'm supposed to be different or somehow submit to her plan for this, or I'm not doing my due diligence. So I feel less concerned about him. That's part of the relief for me. I'm like, oh, he's 18 and I feel less concerned about him and it's going to be okay for him. But navigating this, I have thoughts or ideas about navigating it well, having integrity, blah, 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 blah.
because
Yeah.
this comes back to her criticism of you
Yes.
and how
Yep.
she sees you. And
Yep.
the question is, as we always turn it around in the bubble of reality, do
Mhm.
you also share her same criticisms about you?
Is she right?
Yeah. um there's a piece like there are some pieces like
Mhm.
there's a lot where I'm like, oh, it's not quite right about that, but the idea of like fiscal responsibility and how to support a person to be fiscally responsible, there's some pieces that are yeah, but the spirit of it, I'll be like, I'm not doubting those pieces because I'm like, yeah, we need to have some of this, but the spirit is the part that I get really distressed around is
And
like, yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, and the
yeah,
spirit of it is that is you attaching a meaning to something that is not there. It is poking you in a place where you read something between the lines, where somebody else is not reading that between the lines, and that is the part to be curious about, because that is telling something about your underlying belief that is only in you, not in anyone else.
Is
Yeah.
it? Because I'm like, I feel like other people would be like, yeah, I'm like, is it? Or
Well,
is it just that the people I know would be,
some people would,
so
but because they have a similar underlying starting point. You know, there are also a
yeah,
handful of people who are going to go, I have no idea what you're getting all uptight about. You know, see
yeah,
no problem here at all.
yep,
And those are people who don't come from that same starting point.
And also when you say, is it just the people that I speak with that really see the issue in this? But probably because we tend to surround ourselves with
right.
people
With
that
the
have the
people
same
who agree.
starting point as we do.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's really about where you feel that is that tone in it that just pisses you off. That's your
Mm,
ears. The ears are attached to you. You hear something which is not there,
yep.
but it's poking on something what is relevant for you to look into because it's part of your underlying belief and part of your starting point.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I feel that when you say that, I can feel, yeah, yeah,
Do you want to
And
unravel it?
yeah. If we can, or if that's, yeah.
yeah.
I,
So before we get to that too, I just also wanted to, before I forget, to mention when you were talking about the reactivity of, the way you get this charge in the body and then it comes out as
mm,
this kind of, fuck you sort of a thing.
mhm,
Recognizing that the fuck you part of that is actually the reaction to the charged feeling that's coming up.
yep,
And
Mm,
so that
yep,
that charge is sort of the first dart at this point that's hitting because
mhm,
of some sort of connection where you have this inherent belief that's being triggered or activated because of something in there. So now, when you were saying about, how did you put it? Well, as you were saying, what is it in that? How did you put it?
oh, how can I help
The
you?
the when you were saying to her about the
The wording in the document.
yeah, but I
mhm.
can't
Like,
remember
what
the
is
word
it?
that you used. Yeah, because I
Like,
wanted
like, what is the thing that really gets me, or really, was that
yeah.
the piece of it?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there was something particular there that I had, and then it just flew away. It started with a C. Is like the only thing I can,
Mm,
but I can't remember what
mm,
it actually was. But yeah, let's just take it from that end until it comes back.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, what is it about the actual wording in the document that points back to something in
mhm.
your perception of how you took it to mean something more than what it really was.
It's so hard for me to let go that it's not more than what I thought it was. Like I
Okay.
feel right there. I'm
Okay.
like, are you fucking kidding me, Todd? Like that, that's
Uh-huh.
really so. So say that one more time and let me see if I can do
Yeah.
anything with that.
So what is it exactly in the document that you hear as meaning something more than it would to somebody else who's reading it? There's something about you particularly that takes offense to this in a way that not everybody on the planet would.
Yeah. I'll tell you what it feels like. Where's the person? Where's the humanity? Where's the relationship? That is the piece that I can almost feel tears when I say that.
Good.
Yeah,
Oh,
that I'm like, where is the humanity? Something like that. Something about
So stay with that. Why is that a big charge for you? This feeling of lack of humanity.
no, there's something about existence, like um nobody else existing. But then, yeah, so what is that? Say that. What is the humanity? What is that about the humanity?
is it about protection?
Yeah, and it feels like it probably goes back to a very young thing inside both me and then somehow on me and behalf of my son, like I
Yes.
get to exist as I am. I get to exist. I get to be me. It's like fighting for existence.
So it's also protecting him and him having an existence. And if you don't protect, if you don't read between the line and see that his protection is actually on the line, then he
Mm,
will be vulnerable and, you know,
mm.
eaten by the wolves.
Just say that one more time, because I could feel only part of it go in.
Yeah, I'm thinking if it's because the way you're reacting is as if you are under attack.
Absolutely. Like that's what
Yeah.
the threat. I was like, where's the threat,
Yeah.
Eisman? Like here I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Which means
Yeah, it
that
feels like a
that what you're projecting onto the situation right now is an experience from your life where you were under attack. And
mhm.
right now you're trying to protect your son from being under attack. And you do not understand why your ex cannot see that wording the way that she does, she's putting you in a position as if you would, put your son under attack, as if you would leave him, without any kind of protection.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily think she's doing that for me. I don't think I think that. Um, but I feel like the opposite thing's gonna happen, and part of me is like, I don't want to even fucking educate you about what's happening here.
Mm.
Because the very thing you think you say, stay in touch, he's gonna be like, screw you. Why would he want to stay in touch with you with it? So but there's something, right? There's something where I can tell it's like, oh, it's me, and that there isn't a threat, but I'm like, I feel like there is. Um,
May I ask just to clarify, is it about her writing that he is in the document now legally bound to be in touch with her like once a week or something like that? Is that what is
mm,
pissing you off?
n- um, I'll tell when you say that's helpful to have you say that, it feels to me there are kind of four parents working on this, and I think her thought is she'll write this document, maybe we'll adjust or whatever, but all four of us will sign it and hand it to him. And I have no interest in handing him a document
No.
and signing. And so there's a part of me that's almost like terrified. Is that okay? Is that, okay? And wanting to be like, I hear your concern. I share those concerns, but I'm not going to go about it like this. So I feel like, oh,
What is it gonna solve handing him a document?
good question. It won't. It isn't, but somehow it's like a feeling. I think for her, it's a feeling of like, look what we did. We've done our due diligence, and
Mm.
now we can hold him accountable. And
So
I'm
so can you be compassionate towards her feeling that unsafe with letting
mm,
go of her son? that
Yeah,
she needs for him to sign a document saying that he will not do drugs or be promiscuous, that he will never ever drive too quick, he will always put his seatbelt on. Can you be compassionate to a mom that has that much difficulty in letting go of her son?
am I so in conflict? I'm like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Part of me is like, I've done my fucking time with her, and it reminds me of my mom. I'm like, yeah, I
You
fucking,
don't have to sign anything.
I know the compassion piece. Part of me is like, I don't even want to have compassion, even though I know that's ridiculous. Part of me does, and part of me, it just wants to be angry. I'd rather be angry and not feel the pain of that.
So what would you be missing out on if you let go of the anger? Did she do you wrong and you are still super resentful? And if
Yeah,
you let
yeah.
go of the resentment and the bitterness, then you will never ever receive the healing that you are entitled to.
I just feel it. I feel that at the top of my stomach. I'm not even sure how to say words about
It's
what.
okay. It's
You
okay.
don't have to.
Breathe,
Yeah.
breathe into it. Breathe into the top of
Yeah,
the stomach. Breathe into it. It's okay. It's okay to be pity and resentful and bitter and hurt. It's okay. You can be that as much as you want.
yeah.
And as long as you
I
want.
feel.
It doesn't need
That's
to
how I
go
feel.
away.
I know on
Yeah.
the one hand you say that, and I'm like, oh, she's saying, can you respond? Can you respond? Can you respond? Like it's a fucking emergency. Yeah, I feel it's
It
very
is to
hard for me to
her.
let go.
Yeah.
I
It's a
know it is.
it's an
It's her.
emergency to her. Yeah.
I know.
And one of the ways you can keep punishing her is by not signing.
Well, no, that's not what I'm doing. She asked me to
I
respond, and
know.
I've
I know.
responded. And
I
I really
know.
don't want to punish her. I really, honestly,
I
I'm trying
know.
hard not to. So I'm trying
You're,
to be like,
Liz, you're such a good girl. You're such a good girl.
yes, I fucking am.
Yes, you fucking are. It's okay to be bitter and resentful and feel entitled and be angry and all of that as well.
Yeah, I'm all
It's
of
not,
that.
you're all of that, and it's completely fine. And you can be, compassionate and fucking resentful at the same time. It's not an either or, you know? You can be all that at the same time. There's nothing that needs to go away, nothing needs to change or anything. Be as bitter and resentful as you need to. Allow yourself to be that. You do not need to be a good girl and let go of everything because we're also fucking spiritual liberated. Allow yourself to be what you are. It's fine. It's fine. And then you can have compassion to her struggling, letting go of her son and
Yeah.
needing to control him.
Yeah, I could hear even when I just texted and said that I read the document, I
Yeah.
could tell there was so much relief from her, like, oh, thank God, like
Yeah.
now can
Yeah.
we meet? And
Yeah.
it's like feeling like, oh, you have this urgency. I don't want to have to respond to your urgency because I have my own fucking feelings,
Yes. Yes.
but yet I'm also like, yeah, she's feeling desperate.
Yeah.
She's afraid.
Yeah. And you can see that she feels afraid and that she's desperate and that it's really difficult for her. And she's still a fucking bitch and you're still angry at her. And both can exist in the same world. It's completely fine. It's not one
Yeah.
or the other. You can be compassionate and never want to speak with her. You never want to see her face again because she's horrendous. You can allow yourself to experience both. It's okay. You don't need to be a good girl.
Well, and I guess I feel like now that he's 18, I'm more allowed to do that because I feel like I haven't been able to do that because
Yeah.
I've been like trying to raise him and trying
Yeah.
to be, and now I'm like, I feel like, okay, I've done, which isn't totally true, but
I
it's
know.
arbitrary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, there's so much. I
Yes.
think that's part of it is like letting the fucking so muchness be the so much that it is.
Yes. Yes. But see how liberating it is when you allow that so muchness to be there instead of trying to contain it into like it's like putting a cloud into, a container. It's like instead of just allowing it to be there, it's okay. Can
Yeah.
you be in a body where there's so muchness hanging over your head? Can you
Mhm.
be in a body where where that is part of your everyday life. And not trying to navigate or trying to be a good girl or trying to be a good Buddhist or anything, but just allow things to are as they are, to be as they are. And it doesn't make you a bad person.
Mhm.
It's just
I
an
think that's
experience.
part of it, is even as we're speaking about this and speaking about it together, is like, it's fucking, it's not messy, like, it's like, for what's real
Mm.
is messy and multifaceted and
Yes, and that's why we're putting a lot of emphasis in that the way we're working with the fetters, it's a practical application.
Mhm.
It's not
Mhm.
about being a good Buddhist when you're on the cushion. It's about being, with whatever, like you say, like being an absolute twat in traffic. That is where your practice really steps in. Anybody can be enlightened in a cave,
Mhm.
but in a divorce situation or in a situation like you are in with your son and leaving home and documents and all of that, that is where the non-rubber meets the non-road, you know? And
Oh, yeah.
that's why these meetings are so important, because we talk about it very, very practical, very low practical. How do I go about this? How do I deal with this? So I maintain, a sense of integrity, but I'm with what is happening. I'm owning up to
Yep.
what is happening, and still I know there is no I. How do I combine that? And that's what we're doing at these meetings. It's also why it's just so much easier just to be honest about all the shit that is happening, and then we talk about it.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Thanks. I'll re-listen and keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and I look forward to the next chapter.
And
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah,
right,
go on.
also-
Todd, you always have just a small thing, and then 4.5 hours later.
No, just when you are in that situation to begin with, where you first start to feel that little bit of a charge,
Mhm.
what I'd love for you to do is to, before it becomes a full-blown fuck you fest where you have to like just explode because it's so charged and so intense, recognize the glimmers of it starting. So if you have just that hint of like, where's the humanity kind of feeling, and you immediately start to feel that tension and that contraction and that choked upness and all of that,
Mhm.
just pause it there. Don't allow the thoughts to continue spiraling
Escalate.
on and escalating and adding on to it, and just come into the body with the actual feelings that are there at the thought of where's the humanity, or
Mhm.
whatever that initial sort of nugget is, and then just feel the sadness that's in there, the hurt that's in there, whatever is right there on the body that you are then charging up against and protecting. We create this kind of fortress around this
Yep.
really soft nugget of pain, and then we defend against that with all of the fuck you, stay away, and all of that stuff. But it's just because you don't want to feel that
Yes, good
real
point.
little painful
Yep.
nugget inside. So just
Yep.
de-escalate for a second and come back to that, and just be with what feels that hurt in the body,
Yeah.
and just be loving with that and give that part compassion, because that's really the root of all of that reactivity.
Mhm.
It's just coming back into the body with that sensation without going to all of the stories and justifications and reasons why. Of course it's a valid thing to be offended about and upset about, and of course
Mhm.
none of that is relevant in that case.
Mhm.
I love that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, really, really good point. Really good point.
Mhm.
Coming
Yeah.
back to the sensory experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then see what it's like in that moment, because you might recognize that it hurts for a second. You'll feel that sadness, that scared, trapped little girl, whatever is in there, however it shows up, and then notice the immediate push away from that, if there's any sort of resistance that comes up, so that maybe it doesn't stop right then, but you start to get used to that feeling and that pattern, so that you can recognize it more in the moment, that like, oh, something happened, I feel that glimmer of and that wanting to cry, and then immediately the force field goes up, and then I become angry about it. You can kind of notice it in stages, so you can come back to what's there and just be with that for longer and longer periods and see that it's okay to be with, that you don't have to fight against it. You don't have to defend against it. And you don't need it to go away. You can just be with what's showing up with that hurt, that pain, that sadness, and it's okay to be there. It probably wasn't okay when you were young and you've experienced it the first time, but you're older, you're bigger, you're wiser, you're an adult now who can fully encapsulate that little feeling of hurt that's there. And you can make all the space that it needs without having to defend against it.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
good
Thank
luck
you.
with it. And I hope that helps.
Yeah,
Love it.
Thanks, Ed.
thank you.